Hi guys, we'll be starting off shortly. Just waiting for some more people to join in. Okay, let's get started. Hey guys, thank you for joining up for this webinar. This is our first webinar with Flowworks in the series of solving sales for enterprise customers. So let me do one thing. Let me just quickly share off my screen and get started. And by the way we are setting up this webinar is we are having AMA session after this. So if you guys have any questions, we are open to answer them out. And post that, we are also offering to all the attendees of this webinar a one-on-one consultation. We at Flowworks have been working with some of the largest companies across the world. So companies like Gusto, Cashfree, Paystone, Technoelectric are some of our customers who are loving our solutions and working with us to help them automate their outbound journey, their multi-channel journey. And we've kind of, become decently good at figuring out what works for which company. And these companies are seeing some amazing results with us. So we are extending that same offer to you guys as well. And at the end of the webinar, we'll share a meeting link that will be directly with me or one of my success guys who work with all these companies. According to your company, your profile, we'll get in there. We'll provide a subject matter expert who can guide you on how to make the best out of your brand, your outbound strategy as you go. So without wasting any more time, let me quickly share my screen and let's start off with the webinar for today. Okay, cool. So let's start off with what is the topic for webinar today, right? We are here to talk about multi-channel outreach. Now, let me start by quickly summarizing what a multi-channel outreach means. So when you talk about multi-channel outreach, in today's day and age, reaching out to customers, reaching out to prospects has become increasingly more difficult due to the advent of AI tools, due to just your prospects being bombarded by messaging from everyone throughout the day. And what has happened is single channel outreaches like email only outreaches, phone call only outreaches have stopped being effective. The only answer to this, which most of these largest brands that we're talking about are doing right now, is actually orchestrating a multi-channel outreach play where you organize all these three and maybe more, maybe all the other channels. And again, all these different channels depend to on your website, on your own domain. We'll talk about that shortly as well. But you need to basically orchestrate entire outbound mechanism so that you get the maximum results out there. You want to be in front of your prospects every time. And how can we do that effectively? We'll also talk about that. So very quickly jumping in, who am I and what's Flowworks? So Flowworks is an AI sales agents team. We have been helping hundreds of customers of the likes of Gusto, which, as one of most of you must know, it's a $9.6 billion company, cash-free payments, very well-known payments service provider across India. Stello, an ex-VP of Hims and Hers and Uber, started this company. She is doing an amazing job with Fortune 1000 companies, selling to some of the best brands in the world. Easy Collect, an Australian unicorn pre-IPO company, and so on. We're a small team of 20 plus experts who have been selling in global markets for decades now. Our presence is across India and US. Primarily, we focus on the US and Canadian markets, where we help them understand their GTM strategy. I am the co-founder of Flowworks. I personally have been in sales for the past decade. Have helped multiple unicorns, IPO companies in India, scale up their operations. Have worked with companies like Gap, Lacoste, Marks and Spencer to automate their multi-channel outreach. And 2021, I am co-founder Sudeep that we started Flowworks with the agenda to automate sales for everyone. Jumping in, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why the hell does a multi-channel outreach strategy matters to you? So basically, let's start off with multi-channel outreach. What is it? As you said earlier at the start, multi-channel outreach is basically the ability for you to be able to be available across multiple channels where your prospects are. So if you talk about your prospects, they are also human beings. They are also available across different social media platforms, across different listicles, across different channels. What is the effective orchestration of messages that you can create so that you become visible across the board for all your prospects? That's what multi-channel prospecting is all about. What is the advantage of that? Number one, super high open rates. Basically, what I mean by that is open rates is a single most important factor in outreach, because the more people who are opening up your emails or messages or checking out what you're talking about, the more people are listening about your value prop. And if your value prop is strong, you get customers. That's how simple it is. But with more and more channels that you include in your outreach, your chances of opens go way higher. Secondly, response rates. Obviously, now people have opened up the messages, but they tend to forget. We are humans. We require multiple follow-ups. And if those follow-ups happen across different channels, your response rate goes super high. And finally, meeting booking rate, which is the meat of the crux. Finally, what really matters. And again, this number might look amazing. It might look very far-fetched, but this is the truth. We have multiple customers who have seen 8% meeting booking rates, 7 to 8% meeting booking rates, something which is very normal with our customers. What that means is essentially every 100 people you reach out to, 8 of them come back to you and say that, hey, I want to see a demo of your product. Very powerful. Great, you understand why multi-channel is important, but multi-channel is not so easy, right? There are various challenges that come across. We'll talk about them one by one. And I'm very sure that your company, your strategy has either one of these follies or multiple of these follies. Later on, we'll also talk about how can we tackle these. So starting off, the first one, tool overload. What is this? Right? Great, you have multiple tools here, you have systems. The expectation of the world is that every tool that you basically buy, your team is able to use it fully and optimize your workflows in the best way possible. But that's hardly the reality. So if I talk about a current SDR's tool stack, they need to start off with a lead generation system, maybe basically a mechanism where they can create the lead lists. Let's say they choose Apollo and Zoom in for that. Now you also want to have an intent matching system. Third-party intent, generally let's say Bombora or Sixth Sense. Now you basically also want to have first-party intent. Who are the people who are coming to your website and checking you out? Great, you have RB2B, you have signals. You have multiple different systems who can help you out there. Now you also want to have LinkedIn Sales Navigator to figure out what's happening at the LinkedIn level. You also have to work with your emails, figure out hundreds of emails are going through, which one really matter to you. You also have to manage with calendar. You have to have CRM. You have to have outreach. You have to have so many different tools, and the list just keeps on going. What happens ultimately is the tools just become too much. Your team is not able to manage out the tools that are coming in, and your ROIs just keeps on going down. Second comes is message inconsistency. As you keep on growing your brand, your company, as a one person team, a one person army, your messages are completely consistent because you are the one who's managing everything, everywhere. But what happens when you get a second guy or a third guy or the fourth guy to join in your team? That's where your brand gets diluted down. That's where you don't know what is really going out as a message. Mis-selling is one of the leading challenges that most companies today face. Now, okay, amazing. You have tried to figure out with tools, you have tried to figure out with messages, but what happens when even after hundreds of hours of research, your responses are still low? Your team becomes demotivated. Your performance drops down, and you start finding out better ways to go and increase your increase your response rates. In fact, in the recent times, in the last 1 year, this has become much more worse. Earlier, having 1% meeting booking rates, 2% meeting booking rates was something which was a normal. Now that has gone down abysmally low. 0.2%, 0.5% of meeting booking rates or response rates is something which is very common. Follow-up fatigues. Now, as we discussed earlier, yes, reaching out to people is easy, but following up with the same people who are not responding back to you is hard. It's so hard that people mostly cite this as the challenge of their team not performing, which is they were not just following up, they were letting the leads fall through the cracks. Data silos. Great, you have motivated your team, you have motivated everyone to basically follow up. Don't worry about the response rates, don't worry about the tool overload. Figure out the right messaging inconsistency, figure out the right messaging and branding. Still there are people, they have tribal knowledges, they are keeping it to themselves, they're not sharing it with the team. What happens? These become data silos where you are not sharing information across the board and your whole team is suffering. Finally, everyone starts burning out. There's no clear consistency, there's no performance uptick, and ultimately everything is just burning out. You do not have a team who is performing at the top. Finally, because you're burning out, you're trying to now find a cookie cutter approach to just solve out everything, and hence you're not able to personalize at scale. You're just trying to make things work, barely functional things should give you results. That's what their hope is. That's not how it works. That at least not with the brands who make it big. If we talk about a role of a SDR in your company, let's double down a bit on that too, so that we can understand what really is happening. Why are these problems so prevalent in the industry right now? If I talk about, let's take an example of one of my customers, AI Vanta, very fast growing company. What happened to them before Flowworks? So let's take an example of Alex, who was an SDR in AI Vanta. His day started with the most basic job, which was to start researching the prospects. And mind you, almost 40% of his day actually was going into researching the prospects. Very tedious job. Figuring out whom to reach out to, when to reach out to, was just abysmally slow. Let's say he was completing that. Then became the second part of his day, which was outreach. Great, I have the list. I know what the strategy is. Now let me start reaching out to those people. Thirdly, after the list has been reached out, all the follow-ups has been done, everything has been done. Let's say he's one of the most diligent people in the company. Now comes the part of who has responding back to them, qualifying essentially, do they really fit the bill or not? Let's say after you have replied back as well, he did that as well. Comes the follow-up part, the most tricky part. where you are not sure if the qualified customers are even listening to you. You have to talk to them, you have to make them a success story. And finally, the very, very small amount of people who reach to the final stage, they book a meeting. Very hard life, definitely, right? On an average, Alex, again, he's the one of the best SDRs in the industry. He's the best um, person to basically lead this charge of lead generation in a company like Avanta. Still at max, and by the way, guys, this is a real number of 1,000 reach outs that they were doing with phone calls, with emails, everything. He was only able to make at max 15 meetings per month. That's it is low, right? And even then, there's a drop of rate 20%, 25%, which is very normal. So finally, with all the months long hard work, only 12 meetings were able to be booked by this SDR. That's the reality of the market. What ultimately happened with Alex? Well, he got burnt out. He just did not have the patience in him to manage this whole thing out. He actually quit. That's when, by the way, Flowbox came in, right? So how do we strategize with our customers so that what happened to Alex doesn't happen to their SDRs? Well, it is a tough job, but you can also essentially create a game plan that's essentially replicable. It doesn't lead to burnout. It actually maximizes the rewards by giving them meetings, giving you actually meetings that just scale up as a business grows up as well. So what we did, which was basically the starting point, was for AI Vanta, we started off with a very simple understanding. So let's first of all start with a goal setting. If you do not have a goal in your mind as a leader, as a business leader, what you're just doing is putting additional pressure on your team, which is not leading to anything, which is leading to them just quitting. Start with a goal by understanding what is the reality of the market. To set up very definite goal, we made them set up a goal. They're like, great, we want to, let's just start with at least having 15 meetings booked out. We're like, okay, in first month, that would take, let's say, 0.5% meeting booking rate. That will take, somewhere around 3,000 reach outs. The system will learn, but you need to learn, and we need to then drop it down to 1,000 reach outs should be giving you 15 meetings, and so on and so forth. We would want to ideally come to 500 reach outs leading to 15 meeting bookings. That's the goal. We defined the goal very clearly with them. Now, based on the goal, we went deeper on researching the audience. Now, when I talk about researching the audience, I'm not just saying go on Apollo, just download a list, but truly researching an audience. For example, let's say I'm reaching to Mr. Bob of ABC Incorporated. I'm just not reaching out to Bob. I'm actually reaching out to Bob with a clear understanding of why is he needed in my reach out. Is he a user? Is he a decision maker? Is he an advisor? What is he in this company? What is the problem of this company that they're actually facing that we can solve out? What is it that we can offer to them so that they become interested in our value prop and everything? Once we have that, you have the goal, you have the research. Now comes the game plan part. You are the coach of a company. You are the coach of your team. You have to figure out the timing, the content, everything that basically goes into this plan. And this is, by the way, the most crucial part of multi-channel outreach. Because let's say Mr. Bob, is now, is someone who is very active on social media, is someone who is decently active on email. You have not seen him too active. The intent doesn't seem to be that available on different platforms. What you do is you basically add him into an ICP list, which is saying social media activity, high social media activity. And what you basically create a content for them is something which is much more tailored towards social media, LinkedIn, let's say, and you then figure out the timings, what time is generally active. You can figure that out, by the way, with their social media activity as well. What time are they generally, active? Which kind of content do they engage with, and so on. You create the whole game plan. Now, and also understand this, like Mr. Bob is just one of the examples. When you are researching your audience, must have found on multiple different ICPs, and you create a similar game plan for each and every category of ICPs. Now comes the action, the most important part for your team. This is the point where the team starts executing. A very critical thing that people miss out here when they set up campaigns is they forget to track. They're not tracking, they're not figuring out what's working, what's not working. So we set those things up. We set up exact Excel sheets of how things are working out, what's the project plan, what is it that we're trying to achieve, and in the timeline that we want to achieve that. And finally, after everything is done, start testing and iterating. Every time you run a game plan, basically on a certain set of audience, you track what's happening, you get an answer, you iterate and move on, iterate and move on, iterate and move on. And what happens? Within a few short weeks, you start getting repeatable results. And that's the key to the success of multi-channel outreach. Suddenly your Alexes will not get burnt out. They will come back to you with answers of what's working and what's not working. Great. Sounds great. Sounds amazing. Sounds clean. This is how the strategy should work out. We can understand that. But still, there are common pitfalls in your strategy. After all, every great coach knows this. Like, what are the common pitfalls where the team could falter? So the most common pitfalls are some of the most common pitfalls is something that we have listed down here. Number one, let me start off with what happens if you do not prioritize your leads. Well, hey, I'm Alex. I'm still again your SDR. You have a TAM of, I don't know, 100,000 people who are interested in, let's say, in buying a product. I have that house hypothesis. Why should I prioritize? I should just start off from 1, 2, 3, like the first number that comes on alphabetically, whatever the order basically I got in. But the key that Alex doesn't understand is customers are in the market for very specific times. They're in the market to when only and only when they have just experienced the problem that you are trying to solve. And you need to be there when they are facing that problem. How do you do that? Simple. Use Bombora for third-party intent. You use their own LinkedIn to figure out what's working, what's not working. You actually use the common billboard. Let's say you have things like basically let's say their company is talking about certain issues that they are facing over Reddit. You find those things and you prioritize that outreach. That's the first thing, the very important thing. Second is personalization. 90% consumers say they prefer personalization because it shows that your brand cares about them. It's not a mass marketing appeal that's happening, but rather someone has deeply looked into their problem, is trying to solve it out. Again, think about it. If you are someone who is out in the market to solve out a problem, you would at least want someone who's trying to solve a problem to know what the problem is. And that feeling is what you basically get when you personalize something. Now, third, and maybe the most important point of all of this is replying. What happens to when so there's a very famous Harvard study that was done in late 1990s, where they did respond back to prospects when they replied back at different points of time. And they found interestingly that whenever a prospect was responded back in under a minute to an hour, when someone was getting responded under a minute, they were 4x more likely to book a meeting and say yes to buying a product. And when, by the way, that same number was compared from one minute to 1 day, it's basically the system is saying that, hey, do not reply back to them if you're replying back to them after 1 day. It's normal, right? Most of the customers, when they are facing the problem, the same way that the reason why we do lead prioritization, basically when they know that they are in the market to buy something out, and if the shopkeeper is not responding to them immediately, their interests change. They are not now again available in the market. And that is why you need to respond back ASAP. Again, not very easy for Alex, but we'll talk about the solution there in some time as well. Next, subject lines. It's a common saying, first impressions matter, and that's what a subject line is. That's how you open up your emails. That's how you open up your messages. Subject lines should be so catchy. Exactly right. By the way, there are A lot of studies around that. Maximum 7 words, 7 word subject lines have the highest open rates. Great, all of that is perfect. But what do you need to talk about in that subject line also matters a lot. It should be something which is succinct. It should be something that's able to essentially resonate with the customer, and should be able to basically communicate whatever you want to say in just those number of words. Very hard, but definitely possible. We'll talk about that as well. Follow-ups. Most, again, the same thing that Alex said, right? I have 100,000 people who are on my list. I should always go out after the fresh people. Why should I waste my time with the same people who are not responding back? That's one of the most common SDR complaints. Unfortunately, that's the reality of the world that we're in. Follow-ups win you customers. And every time someone is forgetting that, you have to, as a leader, be there to tell them, no, follow-ups win customers. Finally, when we talk about the email body, the most important part of the whole system, this again similar to how subject lines work, there's a science behind it. There are very definitive studies that tell you exactly how your email bodies, your link message bodies should go like. And that's, by the way, something which most of the companies are not able to cope up. They don't even know that this is something which exists. One fun fact, literally, this is what Flowworks is built on. These are the 6 points. We built our company to solve these 6 problems out and automate it for our customers. So coming to what we do, obviously all of this is hard that I've been talking about, personalizations at scale, getting people interested, being available, being following up, making sure that every response goes out instantly, right? Well, the simpler solution now, because of AI's existence, has become into Alicia and AI SDR. What she does is essentially it becomes the perfect companion for your SDRs, so that most of the mundane jobs that they were doing, which they hated, which basically, by the way, led to their burnout, is something which is now taken care by Alicia. With our solution, customers have been seeing amazing results. You do everything from lead research, and by the way, this is not a simple lead research which we just do over Apollo. No, no, no. This is a very comprehensive lead research. It is the equivalent of deep research, which, by the way, you must have seen with all the different tools. Literally, Alicia goes and figures out across the internet what's happening with each and every of your prospect, and then uses that to reach out to them over email and LinkedIn so that it can sell out the right product at the right time. Objection handling is automated as well, so you don't have to worry about replying back. In fact, Alex will never have to reply back to any objections. Neither will he have to follow up. Just have to use Alicia to do it right. And finally, it will just keep on booking meetings for you. Now, obviously, with AI SDR, I also want to talk about how the market is responding. So there's a very famous study that was conducted recently by HubSpot, where they were talking to over 1,000, around 1,400 plus sales professionals, and they were asking how has AI helped them. Insider talk is that most of these people actually were SDRs, and they were actually responding with what made their what changed after AI came into their way. And as you can see, overwhelmingly, they have had positive responses. They have found AI to be helping them boost their performance. They have found that with this tool, usage became easier. With that, they found much more productivity in each and every day. And the list goes on. Basically, this is a wake-up call for everyone who is not using AI in their workflows. If you do not do that, you will definitely lag behind because behind your competitors, and that's the harsh reality. So what I urge every one of you to do is take this knowledge, apply it to your workflows, and very soon you will also start seeing these amazing results that our customers are seeing. But if you want a deeper understanding of what can be done with AI, we as Flowworks have been helping some of the amazing companies do that exact thing. We are providing one-on-one free consultations to all of you, whoever has joined in this webinar. I personally will try to figure out what could be your best GTM strategy enabled AI. It need not be with Flowworks, it could be with anything else. For example, there are multiple great flows which D2C brands can use. A lot of our viewers today actually run their D2C brands. These are basically, outside of Flowworks purview, but definitely would love to help you out and explain how that can work out. There are a lot of orchestrations that are now also available on Facebook, Instagram. Again, something that we are not typically AISDs are not typically known for, but there are orchestration ways to basically work those things out as well. So again, list is amazing. We have the expertise right now in house to help you out and help everyone out here who is joining us with this, in this webinar to grow their company to the next level with the age of AI. That's it. I'm just stopping my sharing, and now we're opening up the floor for any questions that are there. Okay, so we have started getting some questions. Let's start with the first question. What about the reliability of AI? Very interesting question, very, very important to understand. Yes, AI can be reliable. The short answer is that AI becomes reliable when you are able to exactly ask it what needs to be done. When you ask it very broad questions like, hey, give me a strategy for my brand, well, it will not be very reliable because it will give you the knowledge which is available across the internet. But if you ask it very important, very, very specific things to be done, let's say for example you provide your own exact product information, product guide, and tell it that, hey, can you create me 4 different um, strategies for reaching out to a particular ICP, let's say XYZ, it will be able to give you very, very reliable results. There are many techniques to do that as well. There are agentic flows that can be built out. We are also helping out with that with a certain bit of our customers, and I'm happy to talk offline after this. So please, we can talk more about how reliability works with AI. Okay. Another great question comes in. Yeah. So will it be able to replace my current SDRs? Do I have to fire them then? Um, it depends on your use case. AI still needs to be used by humans. Yes, you can technically say that, hey, I do not need SDRs. In fact, AI will replace most of the SDRs in the coming months. But right now, at least you need one person to operate this out. And that could be you, that could be anyone in your company. But that being said, there is an interesting intersection there as well. See, what happens with AI SDRs or AI tools is that it takes up over the mundane job. Let's say the mundane jobs or finding out the right leads, reaching out to them over email and LinkedIn. That's done. Suddenly your existing SDRs get a new job, which is, I want to phone call, I want to do calls with them. Your SDRs actually get promoted to actually taking demos with the customers. Suddenly you have a place where you have SDRs actually closing customers or closing deals. So that's how current SDRs are transitioning with an AI SDR in the play. Yeah. Okay. So another very interesting question that comes in, that has basically been raised up. What will happen if an AI SDR is not able to perform or is not able to perform in my industry? What industries is an AI SDR not, perfectly suited for? So again, the answer is a bit nuanced. AI right now is something which is able to manage out automatable systems for many industries which have lower ticket sizes. What I mean by lower ticket sizes is basically a ticket size where you are less reaching out to mid-market or SMB companies. It's completely automatable there. But if let's say you are selling to highly specific enterprises, people who will maybe pay you $50,000 or more a year, there the suggestion is that do not use complete automatable AI SDRs, but rather a human in the loop AI SDR. You essentially get better results and you have much more control, because at that level your leads expect more human intervention than ever before. So that's what we generally see as well. Also, in the industries which are regulated, I have not seen AI SDRs performing that well. Government, selling to governments is also something where AI SDRs do not perform that well. How much time does it? So another great question. How much time does it take to get onboarded in AI SDR? Well, it depends on different tools. Some are larger, some are small, some takes more time, some take less time. For our tool, it's very fast. It actually takes under 5 minutes to get started. You just have to connect the right systems, and that's it. What you need to understand. Our AISDR Alicia is a system which essentially trains itself on the back end to be able to replicate your workflows on the front. Now, what we do is that's a backend job. So all we need for that is some basic information. Let's say your your emails, your basically your some emails, some message that has worked out. Who are you selling to? What are you selling to? So your ICP list, your product documentation, any FAQs that come in, and then you just need to connect any Gmail account and a LinkedIn account, and that's it. These three documents, if you have generally, which is available with most of the teams, upload them, connect to your accounts. Within a few minutes, system is ready to go, and you can expect getting meetings from first week onwards. All right. Another very interesting question that comes in: how do you basically calculate ROI of an AI SDR? Well, hey, it's an AI. What do you basically compare it to? You have not seen any other tools being there which are in the same category. So the ROI of AI SDRs is calculated very simply by comparing it to the human equivalent work. Right? You have an SDR. You have very clear benchmarks of your own industry, of your own tooling, how much an SDR costs, and what kind of meetings, qualified meetings, are they able to book. Just compare the same with the AI agent, and on an average, we have seen 30 to 40x better ROIs with an AI agent, because it's just doing the job much better. Right? It's not screwing up. It's not giving wrong answers. It's not misselling. It's giving exactly what you are looking for and replicating that for thousands of people without screwing up. That's again 30 to 40x ROI. You would have not seen in any industry, but AI is just to deliver on that. That's why people love it. But another great question: do I have to write my own emails? Are there any short email templates which are well performed? I hate writing emails. Great question. Great question. I also have hated writing emails. And yes, there are ways. There are tricks. So what we have done with Flowworks is we have, again, right now hundreds of customers. We have multiple case studies. We have basically system that has trained itself on multiple of these emails. So behind the curtain, what we have done is we have actually created an language model that has been trained on millions and millions of emails, which are across the internet, which we found the best performing templates that are there. Right now, what happens with them is the system now instinctively understands what it needs to write and how it needs to basically position everything. So what happens on the back end is, so whenever we connect any account, any email account, we ask for a few good performing emails to understand, what's the tone and everything. But that just needed to be understand for us to understand that tone. System knows what are the best templates for an industry like you. And the good part also is that the system is always on the top of the new trends. Let's say, again, a random example. A year back, GIFs, basically funny GIFs became a big thing in emails. System knows that, system understands that, and is able to put those kind of new trends in so that your emails are always best performing. So yes, you don't have to write any emails. We'll not. We are here to make sure that SDRs don't hate their lives, and so you obviously will make sure that you also do not hate, or you do not end up doing things something that you hate. And yes, system will have sure shot some of the best templates whichever is there to give out. But that being said, if you are looking for some great templates out there, just put this prompt in on ChatGPT, and you should also be able to find some good answers there, which is, this is my industry XYZ, this is what who I'm selling to, give me 50 great email templates. And then once the emails are there, just put them in under the chat and ask ChatGPT to rank it on the chances of it getting opened up. You'll get the answer. It's very, very clear science. It's actually something that people engineer throughout the have been engineering throughout the last decade. Okay, so we have the final 30 seconds for this. I'll take up one more question. Okay, will these AIs generate emails that go to spam? Fear of getting blocked. We experience this quite often. No, it will not. So I'll tell you how ASDS work and how our systems work, right? So something goes to spam with very clear reasons, right? Like if you just think about the science behind how something goes to spam, it's very clear, right? Google has figured out some trends, or any system, all the systems have figured out some trends that essentially it looks into whenever they are looking at any email which is basically passing through the system. So for example, the email that you're sending out, does it have an obvious very salesy start? Now what I mean by that, say let's say your subject line says 55% off, or if it says offer of the season, or something very, very obvious, very, very blatantly salesy. That's something that email engines hate. So obviously do not have that. The systems, or our system at least, is trained to basically catch that and do not share that, or basically stops it from sharing that. Then there are a lot of words. There's actually thousands of words that we have figured out, which are essentially, and by the way, it's an ever-growing list that we also maintain at ourselves, at our own level, where these words have negative impact on the chances of it landing in a primary inbox. So basically, examples again are like off, discounts, sure shot, guaranteed. These kind of things, basically, if they show up a lot on your email body, it also basically gets flagged out. Then there are also deliverability issues. So every inbox that we set up, you have to also make sure that those inboxes are set up right. What I mean by that, there are multiple different certifications which are there. If you are using a direct Gmail or a Outlook account, those certifications generally are taken care of, which are like DMARC, like there are 3-4 different certifications, DCAM, DMARC, this kind of certifications keep coming in. What you need to basically make sure is whenever you are reaching out to people with those inboxes, and if you're using that inbox as a outbound medium, all these certifications are there. They're not screwed up. They're not basically in a list. It's not getting removed out because of some reason. One more thing to basically make sure that the system considers is also seeing how your domain health is. If the domain health is basically poor, which is, let's say 50% or lesser, then you do not use it. You basically make sure you put it in a warming up channel. And warming up is nothing else, by the way, guys. Warming up is just a bunch of different inboxes orchestrating a way where they are replying to your email, so that the system or Gmail system or Outlook system feels that they know this is actually a legitimate inbox that they just negatively flagged out for no reason. And again, there's multiple different techniques that go into this. Unfortunately, within a human SDR, you have to have someone manage these things out, and it becomes an impossible task these days. That's why you keep on switching off, changing inboxes daily, because of different, very, very different tasks. With AI, especially I can talk about Alicia Flow, my Flowworks, RASDR. All of this is actually something which is automated. You don't have to worry about it at all. You essentially can just put everything on autopilot and wait out. The system will give you everything automatically. It will give you warnings at the right time so that your system of outbound never fails. Similar to that, by the way, additional, um, and by the way, that's one of the guarantees that we provide as well. Your systems will not get blocked unless you are misusing it outside of the AISDR. One more thing that, by the way, keeps on coming in is because we also do LinkedIn. Similar kind of safety measures are also put on LinkedIn. We have never had a LinkedIn account getting blocked because of flow work. It's has never happened in the last 1 year. With hundreds of these customers and thousands or thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, obviously, reach outs that are happening on a daily basis. So yeah, with AISDRs, the right AISDRs, it is a non-issue. In fact, the largest of the AISDRs we talk about like 11x, and they have a bad reputation right now, but again, 11x artisans, getting a blocked account has become a non-issue lately. Okay, so guys, that's it from our side. What we'll do is, first of all, thank you for attending this webinar. We'll have more of these series coming up. We'll have more tailored outreach based webinars. What we would want to share, whatever we have learned last 1 year about the industry with all of you. Okay, I have another question. No problem. Yes. So the question is it that 8% voting meeting booking rate confirmed? Nobody promises as such. You have insisted. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So let me start off by saying it is something that a lot of our customers have seen. What I can promise you is that your outbound, your SD, whatever your SDR industry, again, so by the way, why this doesn't make sense and doesn't apply across the board is because what if you are selling to Fortune 1000 companies? Literally 1,000 people, if I get you 8% meeting book rate, that's 80 meetings. That's something which no one can generate, by the way. What I mean by this is on a median case where you have mid-market conditions selling in US and you let the system warm up, train itself. In the next 2 to 3 months, you start seeing these results. We have multiple case studies on our platform. You can definitely go to Flowworks at www.flowworks.ai and read those studies and how the things have worked out. Guster is one of the examples who is actually seeing by the way this kind of meeting rates. We will definitely get a few more of these coming up very soon. But what I can guarantee you is that at least 6 to 8x better results you'll see from your human SDR counterparts. Let's say your human SDRs were able to book 0.5% meetings. In 3 months, you'll start seeing 3 to 4% meeting booking rates. Because again, it's basic, right? It's science. The system is learning itself. It's finding out the metadata. It's finding out the data that your human SDRs are never able to see. So I'll give you one example, by the way, that could maybe clear this out. Is open rate is something that everyone tracks, but no one tracks very clearly the open times at a prospect level. So what I mean by that, let's say again, take the example of our friendly Mr. Bob, right? I reached out to him at 9 a.m. every day. That's like the standard practice that every SDR is told that, hey, reach out to everyone in the morning, 9 a.m. That works out. But that's just because that's a generalization. Not true, right? Like then if you think about your own case, maybe you'd never open your emails at 9 a.m. I never open my emails at 9 a.m. because my first thing when I go to my office is to basically have team meetings. I generally get to open up my emails at 4 p.m. And similar to that, the system essentially starts recognizing what time has Mr. Bob opened up the email. And it keeps that in the memory. Now, whenever it's reaching out to Mr. Bob, because again, these are multiple reach outs, multiple follow-ups, multiple campaigns that are also basically, let's say, leading to him getting converted, nurturing is happening, everything is happening automatically with our solution. It remembers that. And now imagine that happening, it keeping that memory, like what time this person opens up the email for thousands of your prospects. That's a very small thing, but one of the biggest changes that we as a solution do for your outreach, which none of your human SDRs can. Similar to that reply rates, right? We have under 1 minute replies, but the human SDRs can do. So hence, at least 6 to 8x better rates, responses. But again, if you are in an industry which is mid market, selling to mid market customers, you can expect 7 to 8% meeting booking rates very easily. We have seen that. Okay. Okay, guys. So again, I think as I was finally saying, we have had some amazing people, joining us here. It was wonderful to have all of you with us. We will be sharing this recording for all of you to basically consume later on. We'll also share the deck that I just presented with all of you to basically look into. I would humbly request all of you to look at your outreach, see what works, what doesn't work. We are always available. We are providing one-on-one free consultations if any of you need. Think of it as a friendly call you can just set up. You can just throw at us the problems that you're facing. We can maybe help you out with those problems. If not, we'll at least try to point you in the right direction. We have been using or testing out thousands of these tools in the last 1 year, and we definitely know how things work out. And again, that's completely free of cost for all of you. No strings attached. If it works, that you want to basically use as tool, great. If it doesn't, again, we are just wanting to help our community and make everyone's outbound journey much better. And lastly, we'll also be running this series over the next few months, where we'll be now going deeper into much more targeted topics, like what really works for outbound in LinkedIn, what really works for outbound on Facebook, what really is all of this AISDR you know like how that's basically going out around in the market all about. Does it really work for you or not? We'll also go into bringing some really good guests. These are basically industry leaders of Gong, Outreach, people who have done it, who have basically built tools around it. So very interesting stuff coming up in the next few months. Stay tuned. We would love to see you guys again. We'll send out with this recording the and the deck a meeting link as well. You guys can book that directly through Calendly, and directly that will come to my meeting, so we can have a one-on-one chat and go deeper and understand what problems you're facing. That's it from our side. Thank you guys. Signing off and looking forward to seeing you guys again. Bye.